back to Read, Rant, and Review. Today we are going to discuss another series of books which have become suddenly very, very near and dear to my heart. I didn't expect to love them as much as I did, and then I just fell in love with them in every way. That series of books is the Beka Cooper series by Tamara Pierce. I picked up the first book, which is Terrier, from the library, and I wasn't sure I would even like it because I had read one of Tamara Pierce's other series, The Song of the Lioness Quartet, when I was much younger, and I loved it. But I was much younger, and so I was worried that Tamara Pierce would not be as good as I remembered because I was so young. And holy shit was I wrong, and I've never been more happy about it. These books were amazing, and now you already know my opinion, but I'm gonna give you some insight as to why they were so amazing. But let's talk about them. We're going to talk briefly about each book individually and then overall. And yes, I will find things that I didn't like because I always do, but yeah, this woman can write circles around pretty much anyone. Okay, so let's talk about Terrier, the first book in the series. All three books have dog names because of the characters are police, essentially. They're police, but they're called dogs, is like the street name. So they're called the Provost's dog, and they work for the Provost, obviously, who's like the lord who's above them, and they are in charge of keeping the city safe, solving crimes, that kind of thing. It's like a police story set in a fantasy medieval world. And it is, of course, starring Rebecca Cooper, or Beka. She is a young teen in the first book, and she is a puppy, which means she is training to become a dog. And so she gets assigned, the dogs work in teams, usually male and female teams, and she is assigned to Goodwin and Tunstall, who are some amazing, amazing characters, and they are going to train her, and as they do, they are going to be solving a mystery. Sort of a mystery. It is a mystery. It is a proper mystery, although it doesn't have the feel of a mystery book. So what are some of the things about Terrier? It was a great intro to the series. I never felt lost, because Tamara Pierce writes all of her books in the same universe, it might be easy to feel lost. But even though I hadn't read one of her books in a really long time, I didn't feel lost at all. All of the characters are so amazing and well written. All of the characters are so engaging and well written. I'll gush about this more later. But every character that we meet, even in this first book, is a delight. Even the bad guys. I'm happy to meet the bad guys. There is almost no love subplot. There is a very small love subplot, but it's really minor compared to the overarching story, which is always refreshing. Because, you know, does there always have to be a giant romance in every single book you read? No. And the ending is great. It's very satisfactory, adventurous. It wraps up this story but leaves it open enough that you can go on to another. There's none of that cliffhanger. There's no sequel baiting. There's no, oh, what will happen next? You want to keep reading because you have fallen in love with these characters and you have fallen in love with their world, and you know that there are more adventures to be had. Not because the author has dangled something shiny in front of you and then took it away at the last minute so you have to go read the next book. That is so annoying. So yes, Terrier. That's my thoughts on Terrier. We'll move on to Bloodhound. Bloodhound, again, Beka is a little bit older. We get more of the same characters, but we also get a lot of new characters because now she and Goodwin have to go on assignment essentially to a different town, which is smart because if you kept us in the same town where they have been working, it could get boring really fast. You know, previous book, we were already here. So, Tamara Pierce was smart enough to send them to a new town where they're on assignment and they're not very well trusted and people are a little bit dubious about them, but they have to pretend to be lazy and dumb sometimes so that people will take them for granted and not look at what they're investigating. Bloodhound is like Terrier, only more. This series only ramps up. I will say that you probably should read Terrier before Bloodhound. You could possibly pick it up in the middle, but very little explanation is given to what happened previous to this, so you kind of have to remember. And even though, you know, Goodwin and Tunstall are introduced, you don't get a sense of how amazingly awesome they are if you haven't read the first one. So I would definitely recommend that you read these as a series and don't pick it up in the middle. I have to say that Goodwin is completely my hero. She is who I want to be when I grow up. Holy crap. I've decided that she is basically Cassandra from Dragon Age Inquisition, only even, more developed because she's got more books to develop in, and yeah, I love her and everything about her. She's glorious. So the fact that Bloodhound has a lot more Goodwin makes me even happier. More Goodwin equals more awesome, at all times, forever. There is, again, some romance in this story. It's a little bit, I think, a little bit more highlighted than in Terrier because Beka is getting older and, getting more sexually mature. And things like sex do happen in these books. You aren't treated to the explicit sex scene, which I appreciate, but you know that your female character has had it, is going to have it, and there's no idea of her being like, oh, precious virgin, or oh, feel shame because you've had sex. Sex is just a part of life and the world we live in. Oh my gosh, why is that not the case in more books? So annoying when the female character is like, but I'm a virgin. It's like, so? Or, a character who's had, a main character who's a woman who has had sex before. That is unheard of in these young adult books. But yes, the mystery that they have to solve is again very satisfying. The villain is very different from the previous villain that we had in Terrier, and it's great to see the differences in how they handle this new situation. How Beka, in the first one she gets her nickname of Terrier because she's, determined little terrier, grips onto something and won't let go. In this one she gets the nickname of Bloodhound because she just refuses to stop the hunt, essentially. When everybody else says give up, she says, no, I will never give up. And also we get introduced to my second favorite character in Bloodhound, which is Achu, the dog, who is actually a dog. She's a little mutt, she's a scent hound, and Beka becomes in charge of her, and Achu is delightful. And let us move on to Mastiff, in which the plot becomes much larger. It's like each of these books is like the previous book, only more, and Mastiff is no exception. It is the other two books and so much more, because now we are embroiled in this countrywide plot. The king and queen, the throne assassination attempts. It gets so much bigger and so much better, and Beka and Tunstall now have to partner up and deal with this. And they take with them Sabine, who is another amazing female character, and Achu, who is glorious in all of her cute dogginess. And they have to go and deal with this, and we also get to meet one of my new favorite characters, that of Farmer the Mage. I won't tell you too much about him except for that he was completely not what I expected, and I'm so happy that he's not. Because when I read the back and I heard that there was going to be a mage character, I was like, oh, he's going to be a cliche. But I should have known better, because Tamara Pierce doesn't write cliches, she writes people. And he was very well-rounded, very complete, and not at all what I expected, and I was so pleasantly surprised. Pretty much in Mastiff, everything, any little inkling tidbits that annoyed me about the previous two books are gone. Mastiff is honestly one of the best books I have ever read. I was so surprised and so pleased. There is a stronger love interest in this story, but it is so satisfying and so wonderful. It is the antithesis of Bella and Edward. This is a mature relationship with two people who clearly belong together, versus, one is obviously superior or one is controlling and overbearing. No. This love story is the love story that we should read more of, and we should want our teenage girls to be reading. There was so much action and so much intrigue in this story. It was going a mile a minute, and I was just happy to hold on for the ride. Not only do we get new characters, but Beka herself has grown as a character from the previous two books. You can see her growth, not as much between Terrier and Bloodhound, but definitely from Bloodhound to Mastiff, she has grown a lot. She is not making the same mistakes she made in the previous two books, and her personality has become even stronger. She feels so real. All of these characters feel so real. I want to meet them and hug them. This book, like the previous two, kind of had a bit of a twist ending. I think Bloodhound probably had the least twisty ending. But this one did have a twist at the end, which I did guess, but I was not positive about at all. I thought I could be wrong. And so it was nice to have a twist ending that you can figure out, but at least both my husband and I were both like, oh, we're not sure. And it made sense. The twist made a lot of sense. And the ending of this book also traumatized me, but in a good way. It's one of those things where like a book should make you feel, and sometimes that feeling is great sadness. And this book did that. And I was traumatized and happy.